Settle down, brother. This is the Quarter Report powered by ActionSA.com. South Africa is a movie. Welcome to the watch party. Johannesburg's mayoral race is stupid. What the ANC, the DA, ActionSA, and the PA are doing is creating a stupid mayoral race. You are probably right now thinking, but Dan, there's this one person who I'm going to vote for who's not dumb and is not doing stupid things, or this one party that I think is better than the rest. This is not about that. This is about talking about what an absolutely dumb set of options and things that are currently happening around the Joburg Mayor's race. It's about how stupid it is. And that is what today's show is going to be about, because it is affecting and going to affect South Africa's most powerful, important, populous, and economically consequential city, one that is slowly to quickly falling apart, and that fall apart needs to stop. Johannesburg deserves better. Welcome to the Quarter Report. The only place to watch the full show is on ActionSA.com. If you're on YouTube, also please give us a like and a subscribe. And there's another link in the description, 3beaniesnetwork.com, which is where you can buy merchandise to support us. What happens in Joburg has ramifications for every single part of this country in terms of all of the businesses and business people and centers of political power and social influence that happen in Joburg and affect the rest of the country, but also because political trends happening in Joburg are justifiably the biggest media stories in South Africa and the most talked about across South Africa, which means that those stories influence the political fortunes of parties and people in the rest of South Africa. So the Joburg mayoral race really matters to you, even if you don't live in Johannesburg. Why is it such a stupid mayoral race? One, the mayor of Johannesburg is so utterly, extraordinarily incompetent that it almost makes us wonder. Sometimes I lay awake at night and I think, is Dada Morero trying to end the ANC in Johannesburg? The latest outrage is that he has finally confessed to the fact that his administration had taken 4 billion rand away from Joburg Water in the last financial cycle. 4 billion rand that was meant to go to the water authority that's supposed to provide water to a city that is in a perpetual, never-ending water crisis, a city where many residents go weeks to months without any water whatsoever coming out of their taps, in a city where water infrastructure is consistently breaking down, where a lot of the water infrastructure has not been maintained since pipes were first laid. This massive city of millions of people, which holds the most millionaires and billionaires of any city in this country. In fact, I think in most of the continent, in fact, if not the whole continent, in a city where most of South Africa's economy lives, dies, flourishes, or crumbles, the fact that there is no water infrastructure or maintenance, and then Dada Morero, his administration took 4 billion away from the authority supposed to be trying to get us out of this mess and maintaining our water, is so beyond absurd. Like, again, if I was a political rival to Dada Morero and I got one wish from a genie about like what could happen that could destroy his and his party's reputation in the eyes of voters, it would be his administration took billions of rands away from Joburg Water. Dada Morero's administration is consistently being caught out and called out for inability to deliver services, inability to fix roads, inability or disinterest in maintaining electricity. And I know that local governance is complicated. I know that it's not literally live or die by the mayor's decision-making and sword, and there are different organizations and companies and different role players in local government, but they are fundamentally all under the remit of his administration. I call him Dololo Morero because on the 21st of August, 2024, he did an interview soon after he became mayor, where he said, don't expect big improvements or much at all from my administration in the next little while because we don't have enough time before the next local government election. Now, one, you should never, ever have a politician saying, don't expect anything good to happen from me getting to power. But two, the 21st of August, 2024 is a full 2.5 years before end of 2026, early 2027, when the next local government elections are supposed to happen. You mean to tell me that you told an entire city, having just become mayor, that you could get nothing good done? No big improvements at all in 2.5 years. And then, as the city was completely falling apart, and the G20 summit is coming to Johannesburg, and suddenly there was a potential for incredible embarrassment on the world stage, hosting all of these world leaders with no decent city to host them in. Cyril Ramaphosa started raging and speaking about what a disaster Johannesburg was. Do you know how long it took for suddenly city municipal maintenance workers to be cleaning that street, Jan Smuts, to be fixing potholes, to be fixing traffic lights, to be fixing street lights, to be pulling the weeds out of the cracks in the island between the different lanes? 2 days. 2 days is how long it took for that refurbishment to start happening, which means they had the ability, they had the capacity, they have it the whole time. It just took someone saying, you'd better do this, who they care about, to do it. Dololo Morero said he couldn't make any big improvements in 2.5 years. The truth is, his and his administration just didn't really care to, couldn't be bothered, couldn't care about it. And this is a rot that is very familiar to anybody who has lived in an ANC-governed municipality or area across the country. The difference with Dada Morero, and one of the stupid things about this situation, is that he's there by the graces of a coalition that involves other political parties. And this is where Wacky Races gets even stupider, because the Patriotic Alliance has been in this coalition very happily for a little while now. They've been chuffed in this coalition. Now, suddenly, the Patriotic Alliance has woken up and realized that the coalition is so unpopular because it's enabling such a disaster mayor that the PA is suddenly saying, we're going to storm out of this coalition because Dada Morero and his people have been screwing over the people of Johannesburg. Gayton McKenzie was saying this, I think, in an area without water last weekend. And it's like, no, dude, no. You and your people have been aiding and abetting this exact problem. Kenny Kunene was the MMC for transport until he stepped away because he was at the house of now under huge scrutiny potential criminal network kingpin businessman Katie Molefe. When Katie Molefe was arrested, now suddenly you're upset with the ANC and you're upset with the coalition. You're going to storm away for the good of like Johannesburg. No, dude, it's too late. You're trying to distance yourself from this absolute horror show. It is too late. And then to make it even more insane, Gayton McKenzie is like, you know who we're going to put forward as our mayoral candidate for Johannesburg? Kenny Kunene, a man who, and you can believe in your redemption story if you want, but he went to jail for very serious crime. It's where he and Gayton met. He has been implicated in, or at least credibly connected to, a raft of other criminal individuals. He was at the house of Katie Molefe, the second most suspicious businessman and alleged to be involved in criminal underworld kingpin activities after Vusimusi Katmatlala. You make him your mayoral candidate. You think that he's the one who really, like Joburgers have been looking out for, going to really, really resonate with that guy. Then let's move on to ActionSA, who had a very, very significant debut in Johannesburg just a little while ago. They got like 16% or something, basically off the back of Herman Mashaba being their mayoral candidate, because a lot of people like the way that Herman Mashaba was mayor of Johannesburg when he was with the DA 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago now. ActionSA since then has had a bit of a wobble. They got like 1.2% nationally in the last election in their national debut. They've had a good time recently because there have been rave reviews from Nasipi Moya, who is their mayor of Tshwane. But ActionSA hasn't named who their mayoral candidate will be yet. And many people are saying that if Herman Mashaba was willing to run again, he might do well. He has a track record and a good reputation in Johannesburg. But here's where it gets so unbelievably stupid. ActionSA has basically described the DA as the devil for a very, very long time. The DA hates ActionSA. ActionSA hates the DA. ActionSA is led by two former DA massive names. Herman Mashaba, Michael Beaumont was in the DA. They hate each other for many reasons, but one fundamental reason is that ActionSA was disgruntled members who left the DA and then took a lot of the DA's voter base in their big, successful, by many accounts, debut in local government elections in Joburg in 2021. ActionSA's Herman Mashaba, many years ago, said that there was no way that Helen Zille could be racist. But in the last week has gone in an absolutely extraordinary Twitter deluge of how he was wrong about that and Helen is a complete raging bigot. And then, 2 days ago, ActionSA said that they would consider going into coalition with the DA if the opportunity presented itself in Johannesburg. What are we supposed to do with that? You've just told us that Helen Zille, the mayoral candidate for Johannesburg, for the DA, your arch enemy party, who you've now been saying in the last week is a bigot and awful and terrible and the rest, you now want to work with her? You now say that you'd be really happy to work with them? The PA has made similar noises. So the PA and ActionSA are just completely folding on all the things that they've been saying. And it's probably because they believe that Helen Zille is going to win the most votes and she may not win a majority, she may need coalition partners, but they now think that Helen Zille is going to win the most votes in the 2026 local government election. And they're rapidly trying to gaslight the country and rewrite all the scripts to open themselves up a pathway to being minority partners in a coalition with the DA in 2026 at the end. So I know, once again, never trust a politician, never trust their word. But this is a level of stupidity and honestly disrespect to the people of Johannesburg, the likes of which I almost can't fathom. Those are just 3 other parties. Now let's talk about Helen Zille. She is going to come in and she is going to get a lot of votes from people who don't usually vote local. She's going to get a lot of votes from white people who honestly, usually, I'm guessing, don't even know that local government elections exist because they don't even bother. She's going to pull a lot of voters who are middle class or upper class and want Johannesburg to be more like Cape Town, see the track record of her time in leadership positions, including Premier of the Western Cape, Mayor of Cape Town, and the rest. She does not live in Johannesburg. She likes to talk about her childhood on the banks of the Yukskai River and all this. She's going to drop herself into this situation, and she will probably do well. I think the behavior of ActionSA and the PA in the last week is really telling that most people, even her ups, believe that she is going to win at least the most votes, if not a complete majority of 50% plus one or more. But Helen Zille's entire thing is that, remember when Joburg was so great? And she says 30 years ago, Joburg was so great. Joburg was great for white people, rich people 30 years ago. It was 1995. It was 1 year after apartheid ended. And 1995 versus 2025, Joburg has decayed. But which year do you think, 1995 or 2025, which year do you think more black Joburgers and poor Joburgers had water, electricity, healthcare, housing, and education? Do you think life is better for black people in 2025 in Joburg or 1995 in Joburg? What fantasy are you selling us of this formerly great Johannesburg? She does not know how the politics of this city functions. She has no, maybe she'll be really great at building coalitions, but she sure has done a good job in that. Because that's the other thing about Helen. She wasn't so divisive in the early 2000s. She wasn't so intolerable. All of her tweets and defenses of colonialism. She had not become deeply toxic to so many South Africans before then. And then that insane interview with Anele, when Anele very fairly pointed out that a lot of black South Africans find her personal politics contemptible. And she said, Anele, you're not a spokesperson for black people, which was smart maneuvering in the moment to try and distract from the very fair point that a lot of black people find her intolerable because of who she is and who she's revealed herself to be. Then she does that ridiculous interview where she talks about Palestine and she says, genocide is a very big word. I don't know, there's genocide in Israel-Palestine, despite the fact that all the world's leading genocide experts, including Israelis, have said that it's a genocide, that the UN Special Report investigation has confirmed that it's a genocide, that it is so obviously a genocide. And yet, the person I've just described to you is probably going to win the most votes in 2026 at the end, or early 2027 in Johannesburg. Why is that so stupid? Because a mid-70s person who does not live in Johannesburg is fundamentally unpopular with many, many, many people in South Africa, and for at least a decade has been considered to be of a previous era of bigoted liberal, is the frontrunner. How talentless, incompetent, and idiotic are her ops that she is the frontrunner? That is crazy. And I often get flack from people in political circles for saying what I do believe, which is that our entire political class in South Africa is fundamentally untalented, self-obsessed, disregarding of voters, and greedy. But like, here it is again. Here it is again. I need to take a breath now. That was a rant.
I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Okay, now let's go to one of the WhatsApps from the WhatsApp line. Again, if you aren't aware, 0607 613 436. This is from Alec. Alex says, I just wanted to share some thoughts after the discussion you and James had on Helen Zille. This was yesterday. Agree or disagree? Happy for you to tune me on this. One, I thought the interview was brilliant. It really showed her true colors, but it got me thinking, it seems DA politicians are often held to a higher standard than ANC mayors. I honestly can't remember an ANC politician being grilled that hard in an interview. I'd love to see her do the same with the current Joburg Mayor and hold him accountable for the city's crisis. Fair. Quite a few past interviews that Anela has done have now been dug up and given that scrutiny. So she did interview Dada Morero. Did she also interview Panyaza Lesufi? And did not give them as hard a time at all. And so that is very fair. Two, there's a big misconception about what a city's role actually is. Cape Town often gets a bad rap for being, quote, segregated, as Anela said. And yes, I agree, but many, if not most cities in South Africa show similar patterns of segregation. From what I understand, cities have limited power to address some of these structural issues since many decisions sit with national government in Pretoria. If I'm wrong, I'd love for you to unpack that on the show. You're right, Alec, but as we spoke about yesterday, there's plenty of local protection and local policing to the point where there are MMCs in local councils for that job. There is the degree, cities do have the power to create and to influence transport networks and the managing of transport. That is fully within their power to do that job. Remember when the city of Cape Town tried to take on and impound the taxis? Remember that? That wasn't national government. That was fully a DA move. And so it's disingenuous for Helen to set the bar so low about what she needs to get done and what a local government should do.
Something that they've done pretty well at hiding is they are very aggressive. They are extremely combative, aggressive politicians, which they have become very successful as a result for doing. And that's why they get in all these fights with people. They are constantly fighting and jabbing and going at people. So I agree that they do get grilled a lot, but I don't think it comes in a vacuum. I think the context of the DA being so aggressive means that they invite that level of aggression back.
Daily Maverick's Rebecca Davis wrote a whole article about the way that the DA tries to bully journalists off the record, like away from the public eye, and how they're very, very vicious.